All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Their Radio. Today we have a very special guest. We have Eduardo Camacho, aka Sonido Sapo. You know, I've seen you everywhere around the city, man. You've been DJing. You've been DJing at some big events, some smaller events, Cha
Right
Cha
on.
Lounge. Where else have I seen? I think I've seen you I've seen your name in a poster for the Michelada Fridays that they
Oh
have.
yeah, First Friday.
Yeah, First Friday.
Shout out to the homies. Marianne, yeah, she's been doing that for like about a year now, and it's always a good time. Yeah, it's one of my favorite nights in LA for sure.
That's sick, man. And and I followed you off the rip off of that. I just off music and seeing what you share and the events going on. But then a few weeks ago, I saw that you posted this cool project that you that you've been working on for a minute, that's been out for a minute. But I saw that there was a zine that came with that, which is the Mambo Animalon. Mambo Animalon.
Mambo Animalon.
Yeah, but so I was like, dude, we gotta have you on. We want to know a little bit more about what's going on with that. So thank you for coming through. We appreciate you coming and making time for us.
Right on. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I want to start off by asking you, behind your name Sonido Sapo, what's the importance of frogs, toads, amphibians, animals to you? What's the importance of that?
Right on. Great question. For me, like I always felt like the frog, the toad is like sort of my spirit animal. There's a lot of lore like throughout history and like throughout Latin America specifically about toads and sort of like the spiritual significance they have.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like in my sort of spiritual journey, like they've always like sort of been around. Like I felt like whenever I'm like a little unsure in life, I still like if I'm on the right track or not, like I'll have some sort of sign in the form of like a toad or a frog that will just like appear to me.
What was there a specific cultural reference or story that you remember about a frog or a toad that you connected with?
Not necessarily, but like, like there a lot of tribes in like the southern US and like northern Mexico, the desert, like they use like the Bufo alvarius toad to sort of take these spiritual journeys.
Mm.
Yeah, you can go down to the Yaqui reservation in Sonora and like have them like take you on a journey. So
Right on. Yeah. Speaking of homes and different locations, you live in LA?
yeah, I grew up in Pacoima, 818,
818, right on. Is that the San Fernando Valley?
San Fernando Valley.
All right, dude. Like I gotta tell you, when I was younger, my parents they used to have a stand at the San Fernando Valley Swap Meet.
Oh
at,
yeah, I
at
love
the
it
San
there.
Fernando Swap Meet. Did you grow up going to there?
Yeah, I grew up going there every weekend. Yeah, I was there last weekend actually.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Dude, I haven't been there in a minute just because it's far for me, especially because I live around here in LA. But I grew up selling there. And you know what I realized? Every Saturday and every Sunday, they used to have a live band perform. And when I was growing up there, this was around the time when Kobe and Paul Gasol won the Lakers championship. I don't remember. I think it was 2008 or something. But I remember around that time, they had a band of kids who would just be playing like a bunch of like Banda and stuff like that. I don't know if you
remember
ever
that.
saw that.
I do remember that. Yeah, they used to have like a little stage in the corner.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
corner, all the way in the back.
Yeah, they actually recently started having bands again. I was there last weekend and they had a full like tamborazo. It's really great to watch.
That's sick. And I remember seeing those little kids and they would just be like, tamarindo, tamarindo.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Like for me personally, I love going to spaces like that because they're very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's very like a barrio thing where like, a lot of like people who don't sort of have the means to go out on a Friday or Saturday night or like go to a club and drop, hundreds of dollars on like buckets of beers and bottles, and like it's expensive to go out in LA.
For sure, for sure.
So I feel like a lot of people like they'll get really dressed up. They'll go to the swap meet, they'll pay $2 to get in, and there they can have like a really good time for like, a whole day almost and only spend like a couple of bucks. So
Hell
I
yeah.
think that's really beautiful, and like it's important to have spaces like that in the city.
For sure, for sure. And if you see that at the San Fernando Swami, it's that type of vibe, the tamborazo. But if you go to the Santa Fe Spring Swami, that's a whole different vibe. But it's
Yeah.
still the same. It's still the same congregation of people, right?
Yeah,
it's like
it's very
that vibe.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Did you grow up with music very heavily in your life at an early age?
Yeah, absolutely. My family, like, they were always listening to music growing up. when I was a kid, I would hate it because like they would wake me up at like 9 a.m. like on the weekends, blasting like banda music. My mom cleaning to Los Bukis, Paquita del Barrio, So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like a lot of people had that experience. And once I moved out of my parents' house and like got away from that, I felt like I started to miss it. And so now I'm the one like blasting music on Sunday mornings while I clean.
What are you blasting?
A little bit of everything. I love Juan Gabriel, so like I feel like
Yeah.
that's my cleaning music. Like,
Speaking of Juan Gabriel, I heard in a previous interview that you used to really be a big fan of Juan Gabriel growing up, huh?
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of probably really funny videos of me as a kid, like singing Juan Gabriel, like all dressed up, singing my chonis.
That's interesting, man. But I also know that I've also heard that your family's from is from Jalisco, right?
That's right.
And from a town that's very well known for their mariachi, right?
That's right. Yeah, both of my parents are from Cocula, Jalisco.
Mm.
They call it La Cuna Mundial del Mariachi. It's like
Okay.
the crib of mariachi.
Have you been?
Yeah, yeah. I try to go every year.
Okay, cool, cool. What's your favorite memory being there with connecting with music out there?
I think just being really young, and like I had spent all my summers there, as a kid. Like as soon as like summer vacation would hit, sometimes my dad would send me and my mom over there just to spend months out there.
Mm.
But it's just a different style of life out there when you grow up, and like you sort of are. It's almost like aimless, but also it's like you just enjoy life for what it is. Like it's a lot slower, the pace, and I just miss like walking around like the plaza and like eating really good food,
Yeah.
spending time with family, all of my cousins that like I would hardly ever get to see.
Well, what's the food that's known out there for? Like, what's some good dishes you get there?
The birria is like the best in
Mm.
Jalisco. Tortas ahogadas, so
Alright.
much good food. The pozole.
Yeah, yeah. I used to get the tortas ahogadas and pambazos mixed up, but it's totally two different things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Pambazo is more like a chilango thing.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where my family's from.
Okay,
But
right
I
on.
love both. I love both. I've been trying to find a good spot in the city for tortas ahogadas. You got any good spots?
Yeah, Tortas ahogadas El Güero on Whittier Boulevard.
Okay, Whittier in what's the class?
Whittier, I'd say the closest street is like Arizona. It's like right underneath where like the
Oh
big Whittier
yeah,
Boulevard
yeah,
arches
yeah.
and East LA.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna definitely check that out.
Yeah, that's my spot.
Damn. All right, that's sick. That's sick. That's where La Fanza used to be at. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh? That's sick. Going back to this theme of music, and this theme of lifestyle. It sounds like you would go back and forth from the U.S. and Mexico. Do you feel like that lifestyle of Mexico influenced the way you approach life once you're back here in the U.S.?
I think absolutely, yeah. It puts a lot of things in perspective, in terms of like work-life balance, like sort of like how it makes me want to like spend my free time, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the big things is like community out there. Like, there's always like people you could reach out to. There's always family out there that's like, kind of has an open door policy. And so I feel like I try to do the same in my life.
Yeah.
I'm always having friends over, like come over to my house and like inviting people over and like having that as sort of a congregation like space.
For sure. Yeah, most definitely. I think now, especially now when things are starting to happen in a larger scale, I think that's hella important for sure. Um, how did you first get into music? Like actually like playing and being a musician. What was your first experience with that?
Um, I think I took like piano lessons like when I was like really young, like in second grade or something, in like elementary school.
Mm.
But I always wanted to play guitar. I grew up like really into like punk and like heavy metal music.
Okay, right on.
And so I remember one of these trips I took with my family to Jalisco, like I begged my mom and dad like for a guitar like for months, and then finally it was around my birthday time and my parents finally like agreed, and like we went over to Guadalajara, to La Ciudadela. It's like, or not Ciudadela, Mercado San Juan. It's like this really, really big market in Guadalajara.
Mm.
And like we walked around for hours until like we found like a little shop that sold guitars, and like they bought me my first guitar.
That's sick. Do you remember the first song you tried to play in it?
I do remember my dad. He played a little bit when he was young, and like he was trying to teach
Oh
me songs
shit.
by Los Freddy's, and like he was really bad at it. But eventually, like I learned how to play like a song by Trio Los Panchos, which is like really hard to
Yeah.
play, but like it
What
was
what is
very
that?
satisfying.
What is that called? It's boleros.
Requinto, yeah, yeah.
Oh damn, that's sick. Um, so your family's musicians? You come from a.
Not quite, but I think my parents always just really appreciated music.
Mhm.
Like I said, there was always music playing, but there wasn't really a lot of musicians in my family per se.
Okay. Did you ever be a, did you ever like join a band, get together with friends and actually start making music together with other people?
Yeah, I think through like most of my adolescence, like high school, and I went away to college, to UCSB right after high school, and
Right on.
I think most of that time I was in a band at one point or another.
Nice. Any we
Um,
would know?
my most recent band, sort of before I like stopped playing, like kind of took a hiatus from playing music per
Uh-huh.
se, was called Healing Gems.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard of Healing Gems. Right on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I left the band like maybe during the pandemic, but they're
Okay.
still out doing it.
That's sick. That's sick. Okay, okay. That's sick. That's awesome. Um, I do want to ask you how you made that transition from playing music and then becoming a DJ, or was that always there? Were you always kind of also DJing?
Uh,
Um,
yeah, it's kind of been there like in some capacity. Like I said, when I finished high school, I went to college at UC Santa Barbara.
yeah.
And while I was there, like I wasn't really playing in a band, just because I didn't have the time. But one thing I did do, like kind of as soon as I got there, is I signed up for college radio.
Sick.
So I got my own show on KCSB, and I did that for like 3 or 4 years. And that was sort of like my first like tiptoeing into like DJing and like becoming a radio host and kind of exploring music in a different capacity.
For sure. I tried doing college radio, but they would give me like the midnight shift, like from like 1 a.m., 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Hmm.
I was like, damn, dude, I'm not down because I got class at 8 a.m. and I'm not trying
Yeah.
to do all this back and forth. But did
I,
you ever have that?
I absolutely had that. I think everyone has to pay their dues at some
Yeah, for
point. I
sure.
remember my first radio slot, like that I had to be on air, was like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And
God,
then I
dude,
had one that was 4 a.m. to 6 a.m.
that's how
And
it
so
is.
it was rough. But I did that for like a semester, and then like I started to look forward to it because like I knew not a lot of people were listening to it,
Yeah,
so it kind of took some of the pressure off. And then by the time I kind of worked my way up and got like a really prime time slot, it was like Friday 8 p.m. Like
oh,
I
nice.
felt like really ready to like be confident on the microphone and like with my song selections. It was a good time.
For sure. I think that's how this came to be. Also, their radio, it's like it comes from that, but it also comes from like, for me personally, like even like homegrown radio and things like that, where we just kind of like, because it's one of those things where like college radio is like you have access to it while you're in college, at least for me. But once I stepped out of that, I kind of still wanted to keep doing that,
Hmm.
and I think the best way to do it was just kind of like doing it ourselves. Um, but were there any music that you found during that time in college that really felt impactful to your taste?
Yeah, I think that's around the time that I really started getting back into like the music that I grew up with.
Mm.
Like I said, I feel like absence makes like the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
So from moving to like a really dense Latino neighborhood in LA to going to like a very white Caucasian like kind of neighborhood in Santa Barbara, I
Yeah.
started to really miss like the music I grew up with. And so I would like make really big efforts to like look for those records. I would bring records home from home, like stuff my dad had, my brother had, and my grandpa had lying around.
Mm.
And so I started like collecting them, and like I really like amassed a lot of records at that time, and I would play them on air live, and like I would like really do my research into like getting back into that kind of music.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I feel like that was a very like um transformative time in my life.
Yeah, man. I mean, speaking of research and diving deep into music, that's how we come to the tapes that you've got here that you've made. I want to start off with this one because I believe this is the first one you've put out, right?
Yeah, that was the first mixtape I ever put out.
How did this one come about? I see that it has La Pau Gallery, and I've seen her name around a lot as well, just because I know
Yeah.
she's curated a lot of really cool stuff.
Hmm.
And I see the Ritmo Latino logo on there, which was a big staple right here in LA. If you remember the one on the Commerce Center, that's the one I used to go to growing up. But
Yeah.
yeah, tell us a little bit more about this tape, the first
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I used to go to the one in San Fernando Mall.
Oh, sick!
Yeah.
They got Midnight Records now.
Yeah. It's right across the street from where Ritmo Latino used to
See,
be.
there you go.
Yeah. But that's actually where like I kind of got some of my first like ever cassette tapes myself. Like I would go there with my brother and like beg them to like buy me like some dope music. I used to really be into El Morro.
El Morro, yeah.
Yeah. So they used to buy me the cassette tapes there.
That's like the kids bop for like Mexican kids or Latino kids, like, doing his own version of, what did he do, like a Don Cheto version of something?
Yeah. He would sing covers like, but like kind of change them around.
Yeah.
They're very silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this tape, kind of my really good friend Paulina, she inspired me to do a cassette. You know, she's really into sound, and at the time she had this gallery, La Pau Gallery, and so she kind of pushed me to like release like a mix in some capacity, and like she wanted me to like kind of think about it in a way that it was more than just a mixtape and more as sort of an art object. And so she, she's not as active now as she used to be, but like at the time, like it was very like inspiring to see her like have her gallery. And so it pushed me to like make a cassette of my own, and like I designed the cover and kind of had this concept around it. It's about kind of like the electronic aspect of Mexican music in a sense that we don't really think about often.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about electronic music, there's this sort of canon that's very European based.
Right.
It's very Eurocentric. You think of Kraftwerk,
You
kind of
order.
dance music, house
Yeah.
music. But a lot of like Mexican bands, a lot of cumbia bands, bandas, like they were like
sure.
messing around with electronic instruments also.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like trying to shift the narrative of electronic music as something very European to also something that can be brown and Mexican.
For sure. And definitely taking it to different places that they've never been before. So this is awesome. And it's called Síntesis del Ritmo.
Yeah, el síntesis del ritmo.
Síntesis del Ritmo. What does that translate to?
It's kind of like the synthesis of rhythm.
Sick.
Yeah, and like synthesis in the context of like, synthesizers and electronic like bass sounds.
Yeah, for sure. Right on. And then after this one, the next one that I saw pop up was this one? Mambo Animalon.
Yeah, this one actually came out after.
Right
in
after?
between, Yeah.
So the order is this one, and then this one came out, and then this one came out last?
Yeah, that's the most recent one
Okay,
there.
cool. So then this one, Sonido Sapo, Rebajadas.
Yeah.
I know Rebajadas very inspired by Monterrey, and Sonido Dueñas, right, and everything that was happening there. But what made you create this tape?
Yeah, so that's actually a homage to Sonido Dueñas. He's sort of credited with inventing the genre of rebajadas in Monterrey. Very influential sonidero DJ. But I actually met another really good friend through Paulina's gallery. His name is Jorge, and he's sort of an archivist and like based out of Monterrey. And so he invited me to go out there at one point and like sort of like just check out the town, which is a place I've really been wanting to go to for a long time. And he sort of took me around. We dug for a lot of records. He would take me like kind of all his plugs and like little shops. We went to tianguises and
That's
like
love.
and he really just like made me fall in love with the city. So much good food, the good music, and they have a really like interesting, special sort of culture around cumbia there, where they're very into like the old school Colombian cumbia. So he took me to all of like the sort of spots of El Puente del Papa and like all the little record stores that are still there. There used to be a really big market that would happen once a week there. And there was just this really big exchange of music all the way from Colombia to Mexico City. And so this cassette is sort of like an exploration around like my interpretation of that, and that I all the records I sort of amassed from that trip, I slowed them down myself, and then made this mixtape.
That's sick. Did you slow them down using a turntable?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay,
A
sick.
lot of them were like 45s, or I also have like a really intense like turntable that will slow down 33 like
Oh,
LPs.
damn. That's
And
sick.
then I had my friend Chuy Vallenato. He's also from Monterrey,
Hmm.
and he sort of does these shout outs throughout the tape.
Oh, that's sick. Shout
Hmm.
outs like Sonidos.
Yeah, like saludos. That's another really big thing out there. We were
For
listening to
sure.
the radio like almost the whole time while we were driving out there, and like there's a Vallenato station, and they sort of just do like shout outs like on top of the songs where
That's
it's like,
sick. And it's like local. It's like really
yeah,
local,
it's like
hyper
they
local.
shout out like all the gangs, all the homies. It's like a very almost akin to like our LeBeau connection, you know, where
Yeah,
like
heck yeah. Or also kind of like Too Short, you know? If you know Too Short, like a lot of the early shout outs he did was because of those connections.
yeah.
Speaking of Too Short and hip hop, the rebajadas also kind of remind me of like the southern way that hip hop like is interpreted, you know,
Yeah,
like the
chopped and screwed.
chopped and screwed, right? So it's that connection where we see that like, and this is going connecting it to your next tape. It's kind of like the way music travels and the way music is able to be reinterpreted in different places, right? And that's when we come here to Mambo Animalon, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the way this tape specifically came to be?
Yeah, I think I was at a point last year sort of where like I was starting to amass all these songs like, and I was starting to like kind of like draw these connections where I was realizing that a lot of like banda and like norteño songs are actually a lot older like than sort of like what I had been led to believe.
Mm.
Um, a lot of the songs are actually like old Colombian songs or old Cuban songs or like they're from Honduras. And so I started like looking back and like a lot of like really popular songs are actually like, I don't know, written in Cuba. And
Mm.
so I started thinking about these like relationships between like, you know, how does a song written in Colombia, written in Cuba in like the 1940s, like end up as like this like just like banda like hit that everybody knows and like celebrates in LA.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You think about a song like La Culebra by Banda Machos or
Mm-hmm.
El Alacrán by Banda Maguey, and those are all really old Cuban songs.
Damn. What was there a specific song that kind of led you to this exploration, like as one that specifically?
Yeah, I think those two that I mentioned that are
Mm.
just like, you know, kind of like just like very big hits, like you play those and everybody knows them, but like they're actually not Mexican songs at all, like they're from somewhere else. But like they've sort of been adapted into the canon in this way that like everybody knows them and you put it on at a party and like people go crazy.
Yeah. And you know what I really like? I saw this quote that I saw in one of the captions. I'm not sure if it was the caption for the cassette or the zine, but I want to read this to you. But it says animals in music never seem to have much respect for the imaginary land boundaries drawn by man. Um, so I feel like we really hear that through this collection, right? How
Hmm.
like music is able to travel. What do you think is about music and animals that they're able to do that and they're able to travel without these boundaries?
I think it's just kind of a symptom of culture. Like you think about culture and like it just has complete zero regard for like these imaginary borders that we have. And I think a lot of this happened in a very like harsh political climate, um, which is also kind of what this cassette is about. It's like in the 1990s there was a lot of like anti-Latino rhetoric growing around LA. It was a time when like Californians actually voted for Proposition 187, which was one of the most strict like anti-immigrant propositions ever signed into law.
Oh wow.
And the California Supreme Court actually had to step in and say this is unconstitutional, but it was voted by Californians,
Oh wow, that's
which
crazy.
makes you it puts things into perspective, like because you would never think California would vote something like that into law, but
Mhm. Mhm.
it kind of shows you that there was a lot of anti-Latino like rhetoric going around, and so I think that kind of just ended up empowering a lot of people, and
Mm.
it made them very proud of to like represent where they were from.
Yeah.
And so a lot of like migration at that time was from the northern western part of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people from Nayarit, from Sinaloa, from Jalisco were coming to Los Angeles at the time.
Mm.
And so I think it just made them very proud and like kind of like they dug their heels in just because Mexicans are so like stubborn. And so they started to like dress in these ways that were very like kind of over the top. They started like listening to music that was very like kind of in a sense like reminded them of home,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like of these rural areas. And so I feel like a new culture was born at that time, which is like one that it's very like synonymous with Los Angeles now, but it's why you see, you know, people like all around the city, cowboy hats, boots,
Yeah.
you know, very
Yeah. Yeah.
colorful shirts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it all stems from like this political climate in the 90s, which is not dissimilar to one that is happening kind of right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one of those dances and one of those things that came here in those cultures is quebradita, right?
Hmm.
Quebradita is one of those big things that were happening here in LA. How did that come to be? Quebradita specifically.
So it's like this style of dance that was kind of born in all these different places in Sinaloa, Guadalajara, Nayarit. Like you had all these bandas and people dancing, and so it made its way up to LA, where it kind of got the name Quebradita. But one of the songs in this cassette actually kind of talks about that by Banda. Um, it talks about like all the different names that this dance was called in different cities.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's crazy. And you know, even the literal name of the dance, it's breaking, right?
Hmm.
It's breaking everything and breaking it, and it's cool because even when you think of the dance move, it's kind of like everywhere. It's kind of like free, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's
Yeah,
high energy.
it's breaking the norms, breaking like these cultural boundaries, breaking the borders. So yeah, I really like that way of thinking about it.
That's sick. I want to ask you because I want to come back to this point where you mentioned like this is kind of similar to what's happening in this current moment. Um, what in this moment when we talk about like music in LA, what does that sound like to you?
Yeah, I think it's no like you look around and you see that Mexican music, regional Mexican regional music has kind of made this really big boom in the past couple of years. And I think it's to me it draws a lot of parallels to what was happening in the 90s. Um, you know, it's a crazy political climate out there right now. Like we're seeing things like we couldn't have had imagined like, you know, years ago. Like it's rough out there. Like there's so much kind of hate being spread around
Yeah, for
the
sure.
country. And I think people are like really digging their heels into their culture again. And it's why we're seeing like Mexican regional music is so popular again. People really want to like represent themselves culturally. They are trying to like sort of attach themselves into something that gives them meaning. And I think this music, this culture is like a really big part of that.
For sure, for sure. I mean, even when we're thinking about like the larger mainstream music, right? We have Kendrick and the Drake whole thing, and that's kind of also building into this political moment that we're in. It's kind of like, in a way, it kind of preset it. It's like, okay, what a, at least that's the way I think about it when I think of even like hip hop. It's like, okay, like the music has to be connected with something, and it has to mean something at the root of it. So it's exciting to see it. And it's exciting to see it even with regional Mexican music and you know where we currently all live from is Southeast LA, right? And Southeast LA also has that deep connection with Chalino Sanchez, with
Absolutely.
Ariel Camacho, and like with everything that's happening with Dell Records. So I'm excited to also see what that wave is gonna sound like. You know, that new wave for sure. Um, so that connects us to this scene. Uh, could you tell us how this scene came to be? This is in connection with this tape. But it goes into I can see like there's a lot of cool images that are
Hmm.
connected with the locations, poems from our previous guest before, which is Lupita Corrales Limon. So it's really cool to see all of these different things of multimedia coming together with the zine. How did this come to be? How did this come to connect with the tape?
Yeah, I think when I made the cassette, like I wanted to put something together. I had a few more things to say than I think a cassette format would fit,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's so like physically small that I wanted to include like some sort of context for the cassette. And so my friend David, he actually inspired me. He kind of pushed me. He's like, you should do a zine. And I come from like a very like punk like background as well.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, maybe I should just make a zine. Like I love DIY culture. I love just like doing things yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very empowering. And so one of my like sayings that like I promote is el sonido es amistad, which is
Mm-hmm.
like through sound like we have friendship. And so I just wanted to invite all of my friends to sort of help me put together something interesting and unique. And so I just asked like, 5 or 6 different friends, like, do you have anything you want to contribute and kind of put out there into the world? And so that's how we ended up with the zine.
That's sick. And that's the kind of reminds me of the way you were talking about earlier about like opening your home and like inviting everybody to come through. I think this is a material way of that also showing.
Yeah, I think the cassette, it talks about sort of how these community spaces opened up as a result of like, I think people just needed a third space into which they could like come in and like feel welcome. And so they started coming to bailes, they started going to the swap meet to go dance. And, these communities were sort of born out of that. And so I just wanted to do something like similar in which like I wanted to create a space in which people felt comfortable sort of just being themselves and like sharing their artwork, because I have so many talented friends. Like they inspire me so much. And so I really wanted to just like collaborate with them in some way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was talking with the homies here earlier today, and we were talking about swap meets, because yesterday we were at different swap meets, and we're like, well, are swap meets like going away? Is it like? But I told them, I'm like, I think they're gonna come back, and I think it's a resurgence, and it's because it's what's needed, and I think it's what's necessary. So I'm excited what's to come when you talk about third spaces. I'm excited what that's gonna look like this year for sure. Um, this last question I have for you is, what do you hope people take from your mixtapes and also from the scene?
I hope that it inspires other people to sort of create things and like share space with other people, and just spread the love. Like,
For sure.
yeah, friendship, that's what it's all about for me.
Hell yeah. El Sonido Es Amistad.
Como no.
Yeah, hell yeah. Any last words? Anything you'd like to say before?
um nah, I think swap meets aren't going anywhere. I think I was there last weekend, like I said, and it took me like an hour to find parking. So Banda Machos is playing next weekend at the Santa Fe Spring Swap Meet.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so
Oh,
if you
damn.
can get tickets to that, maybe I'll see you there.
They get the. I know that that Swami now does like the late night kind of thing. Is that or they're doing it like during
Yeah,
the.
they do it at night, so
Okay,
it's
cool,
it's a
cool.
good time.
Sick. Check it out, man.
Yeah,
The music is here.
I've gone to see a few bandas at night there. It's always a really fun time.
That's sick, man. Check it out, man. The music's alive here in the city. Thank you so much, Eduardo, for coming
Mhm.
through. Sonido Sapo. Check them out. Where are you going to be at next? Where first of all, where can people find the zine?
They could find them at any one of my gigs. I have 2 coming up this weekend. One on Friday at the Cha Cha Lounge at Sonido Es Amistad.
Mm-hmm.
My good friend from Portland is coming down to visit Backyard Mango, Sergio, so he's
Sick.
gonna have some really good records for to share with y'all.
Sick. And when people go to your to places you DJ, what could they expect? What
Bring your dancing shoes.
Hell yeah.
We like to dance.
Sick.
Yeah, Noche Romantica is also on Saturday over at the Melody Lounge, so that's always a good time.
Cool. And where can people find you?
I'm online. My Instagram is Dogtoad.
Sick. Toad. Sapo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all connected. Cool. Thank you so much, Eduardo. I appreciate you coming through and breaking this down for you.
Yes.
Definitely check this out. El Sonido Es Amistad, Mambo Animalon. Appreciate y'all.
Right on. Thanks for having me.
Cool.